in this moment where we are being pushed to move faster, to keep up. But this week, the astrology is telling us to do the exact opposite. So every client conversation I've had this week, there's been the same undertone underneath, and people are feeling scattered, overwhelmed, like they have to keep pushing when their whole body is asking them to rest. And this week, Neptune stations retrograde. Mercury is already in its retrograde, which means that the planets are pulling us inward at the exact moment that the online noise has reached a fever pitch. So, this week's episode is all about giving you permission to slow down and create your own real filter for what to do about this insane amount of noise we're all experiencing right now instead of just pushing through it. So, we're going to go through three signs that you are actually being pulled to turn inward right now. So, before we dive into the transit by transit week ahead astrology, I want to just sit with this sign that we are all actually being pulled to turn inward to our own inner wisdom while everything around us, this swirling of information and ideas and strategies and trends, why now is such a potent moment to actually turn inward, turn into your own wisdom, turn into your own intuition. And that's going to be the difference between getting swept away with everything or actually moving from a place of true knowing and in alignment with what's best for you in your particular life and business. So, here are some signs that this is your time to turn inward. So, number one, you're feeling scattered. Even if, you have a reasonable, relatively reasonable to-do list, it feels like there's this pressure of noise. And number two, you're finding yourself getting swept away with tactics or trends or products that don't actually match your business just because it's really loud right now. So maybe you got caught up in one of those Instagram ads. I know I've been like getting sucked in, and I really have to step back and say, is this actually the thing that's going to support me in my business, in what I'm actually trying to do in the business I currently have? Or is it just this shiny object and they're everywhere right now? And sign number three, something in you is asking you to pause. Maybe it's your body. Maybe your energy is just not able to keep up with what you're asking of yourself or what your clients are asking of you or what your business is asking of you. I know this morning, I usually dive right in. I'm excited to get to work and I just needed to just take the morning to do nothing. So if you're getting that sense, like I need to just stop and allow myself that grace to take a rest, to daydream a little bit. And if you've been overriding this because that pausing feels like you're falling behind. Maybe you feel like you're just treading water, right? And so if you were to pause, then you drown. So that feeling can be really intense right now. So I just want to give us a moment to check in. Like, how are you feeling in your business right now? And really give you permission to be a less, quote unquote, productive right now. Because if you are overriding your own inner wisdom, then there's a high probability that you are taking on things that aren't actually helpful to you right now. And that by taking that pause and really, reflecting on what it is you want, what's been working, what hasn't been working, how you can be revising, refining things in your business rather than plowing forward, that's actually going to serve you best, particularly right now. I hosted a workshop this past week. It was lovely. And I noticed that my numbers have dropped significantly with workshop registration. And so I could have gone one of two ways. I could have spiraled and just said, oh, this isn't working for me anymore, like I suck. And, or I could say, okay, this is information that I can now reflect upon and really reflect on what was working in that and how might I pivot. So, you know, the people who showed up for me were people who have been in my world for a while now and who have been clients in the past. And just really, it was such a Mercury retrograde moment because it was a threshold ritual where we were reflecting back on the year and I was reconnecting with people who I've served in the past and just really I'm really sitting with, do I want to keep doing these kind of monthly free workshops, or is my audience really seeking a different way of connecting right now? So I'm playing with that and I'm not just diving right into making a decision, but I am really reflecting on how I might want to refine what I'm offering, how I'm connecting with people. So, like I said, this week's astrology is really amplifying this call to turn inwards. That Mercury retrograde period, it doesn't have to be annoying or like terrifying. It gets such a bad rap. And that's only because we're always asked to just move forward constantly. But it's really such a gift to take a step back and reflect and review and refine all of those RE prefix words. Um, Renew, replenish yourself, especially with Mercury and Cancer. How can you replenish yourself right now? Get that extra rest and see what comes up. And again, this Neptune stationing retrograde is adding another layer to that. It's time to turn inward. It's hearkening back to that really powerful transit we had with Neptune and Saturn conjunct back in February in Aries. And so we're looking back at how have we learned to be discerning between what is real, what is illusion? How do we trust our own instincts? We're also sitting in this larger transit of 2026. Next week, Uranus is going to make its exact trine to Pluto, as well as its exact sextile to Neptune. And, we're sitting in this right now. It's all building up. And there has been and continues to be this massive influx of new ideas and technology hitting us all at once. And so, this ability to turn inward and trust your own intuition and find a quiet space within you is going to really serve you in making a conscious choice about how you want to engage in these new technologies, how you want to sort through the ideas, what do you want to filter out, and be really intentional about that rather than getting kind of caught in this whirlwind and then landing someplace that maybe you don't want to be. And it's interesting because I've had multiple clients this week speaking to the archetype of the hermit. If you're familiar with the hermit from the tarot, it's a major arcana card. And the archetype is all about turning inward and trusting your own light instead of, it seeking external guidance, really starting from that place within. And so this is just another kind of affirmation that I'm tuning into in the collective. So all of you, empaths and spiritual entrepreneurs may be also really feeling this energy right now. And I just want to affirm that for you that you're not alone, that, with so much coming in so fast, you want to tune into your own inner compass rather than, the next shiny thing that pops up in your feed. All right. So let's now go and break down the week ahead transits, transit by transit. We are starting on July 5th, where we get Mars in Gemini, trine Pluto in Aquarius at 4 degrees. And this to me is feeling like a supportive integration energy after the kind of explosive Mars Uranus conjunction we had 2 days before. So maybe you were really kind of knocked down by an explosion of ideas and downloads. And this Mars trine Pluto to me feels like it's asking us to go deep rather than wide, that Mars and Gemini really dispersed and is chasing all of the ideas. But with this, supportive aspect from Pluto, it's pulling us back into the depth. Which of those ideas that is something that you can really sink your teeth into? Okay, so the next day, July 6th, the moon enters Aries. And, this can feel like a burst of bold initiation energy. Of course, right now, this is activating everything that's happening in the sign of Aries with Saturn and Neptune. So we're going to go into that a little bit more. But in general, this is about being direct and going for what you want when the moon is in Aries. So on that same day, the sun is squaring Saturn. 14 degrees. Sun is 14 degrees of Cancer, Saturn's 14 degrees of Aries, and there can be tension between what you need on an emotional, energetic level and feeling like there's some responsibility hanging on you. So you may feel torn between taking this time for rest, caring for yourself, caring for your kind of inner circle, and caring for the business and the responsibilities you feel that, pull towards productivity. So really feeling into how can you make that balance, I'm giving us this call to slow down and turn inwards, but that doesn't mean that you just drop all of your responsibilities in your business, everything that keeps your business going. But it does mean maybe you say no to some opportunities right now that are going to just be one thing too many. Maybe you start delegating some of what's been on your plate, and if your plate is already full. So then the very next day, July 7th, we get both that Neptune stationing retrograde as well as the last quarter moon in Aries. So Neptune stations retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. And this is, that last quarter moon in Aries is a natural release point. It is that letting go, something that you seeded in the new moon, this last lunation, that, bringing something to a close or letting something go. And this is just really bringing us that embodied feeling of the Neptune station retrograde. And whenever one of those outer planets station retrograde, it's a real inflection point. And again, a pause where we get to look at what is this larger experience, this larger story of Neptune in Aries. What was that Neptune conjunct Saturn all about for you? For me, it was really a moment of disillusionment and letting go of some fantasies about some stuff in my personal life that I won't go into. And maybe on another episode or in a one-on-one conversation, I'll tell you more about some opportunities for that later. But this is about, again, with Neptune and Aries, it's this trusting our own instincts, and the level of illusion may have kind of reached a climactic moment right now. And now we get to go back and really assess from that gut knowing, like, what is true for me? What's true for me in my business right now? What's true for me in the way I want to take the lead in my own life? So a really aligned day for letting things be a little bit more quiet. Maybe, do a digital detox on this day and just tune into your body and tune into your intuition and really, again, reflect on what's working for you, what's not working for you, what feels right, what feels wrong, and trusting what comes up from your own embodied wisdom. Okay, July 9th, Venus enters Virgo, and so this is adding another layer of discernment, particularly in our values, in our relationships, and really coming to your business from a place of service, getting really precise about what you're offering, that tangible result that you're bringing to people, perhaps getting feedback from your clients, from your audience, like, how can I serve you better? And I think that's really going to add value to everything that you are doing. And then the very first aspect that Venus makes is a trine to Chiron, which has just entered Taurus. And so there is a lot of healing available here through grounded acts of care. They don't have to be these grand gestures, but really, those little details can make all the difference when you are creating a healing space for your clients and your audience. And simultaneously, on July 9th, the moon enters Taurus. So again, the moon is bringing us this direct embodiment of the larger transits that are happening. So really settling into that embodied pace, listening when it's time to take a nap, when it's time to step away from your computer and go hug a tree or just plant your feet in the soil, when it's time for a snack, because there is a lot of, healing work available to us, particularly on this day with the Venus trine Chiron. So we are being asked again to tune inwards, tune into your own rhythm. Okay, so our final day of transits is July 11th, where Venus will meet the nodes. And this is a pole between comfortable old patterns in your relationships and the direction that you're being asked to grow, especially in how you value your own work. This is feeling like some of the larger Chiron in Taurus energy around healing some old money wounds. There might be something being asked to be released on around July 11th. And so then finally, the moon enters Gemini on July 11th as well. So we're back in some of that maybe excited energy where new ideas are flying in, and just remembering that this week is still asking you to slow down, turn inward. So even like as you allow yourself to get excited about the new ideas, the new technology, just give yourself a moment to do a gut check before you buy the next shiny thing on Instagram or, kind of chase something down a rabbit hole. Not to say that you can't follow some of these ideas and get excited about it, but just, do that gut check. Give yourself that space. So this week, I am really tuning in to what it means to be human, to have human connections in a world where we are surrounded by AI content, where we're surrounded by a massive influx of change and ideas. And I feel that having real conversations with real people is what can actually set you apart in a very, loud and crowded. I am offering a space for all of you boss witches out there, all of you healers, to come and meet in real community. I have a space called the Boss Witch Collective, where this is the kind of work that we actually do together in real conversation. With all of these major shifts unfolding, there's a difference between just consuming content and actually being in relationship with other healers, with the people who need your work. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you can find the link in the show notes. It's a totally free community. And if you want to go deeper with me, make sure that you subscribe, because next week I'm going to be doing a full breakdown of the Uranus trine Pluto and Uranus sextile Neptune, which is arguably one of the biggest transits of the year. And we can talk about what this influx actually means for your business, how to roll with it, adapt to it in a way that honors your inner wisdom. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are you returning to or revising, revisiting during this Mercury retrograde? All right. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you on the next one.